A cell phone-free environment to combat distracted students.
Yeah, but not everyone is a fan of this. And we're not just talking about the students who have to lock away their cell phones. NBC's Vicki Wynn has more.
You may have heard about the district's controversial plan to ban some students from using cell phones.
Students will be required to lock up their cell phone. That will start enforcing a cell phone-free environment.
A recent survey of 1,300 kids found in 2021, 37% of 11-year-olds had a smartphone. By age 14, 91% have a smartphone. But at the Richardson Independent School District just outside Dallas, school leaders say they're seeing a problem with so many phones on campus. Distracted students. So at Forest Meadow Junior High, they're trying something new. It's called the Yonder Pouch.
So here's how it works. Each student gets one of these pouches. At the beginning of the school day, they have to put their phone inside and lock the pouch. No access at all until lunchtime or dismissal when a teacher uses one of these to unlock the phone. Voila! Student gets their phone back.
Let's focus on learning.
Superintendent Tabitha Branham says research shows adults and teens feel the urge to check their cell phones every 4 minutes.
Why can't we just trust kids to keep their phones off or in their backpacks and not be distracted by them during class time?
I do believe that our kids can be trusted and our kids are amazing humans. However, we know even as adults the temptation that the cell phone can have. We're trying to develop those lifelong habits.
Dallas isn't alone. To keep students focused on learning, some schools require them to put their phones in a cubby or special area when they enter the classroom. In New York City, the largest school district in the country, each school sets its own policy. In Los Angeles, students are required to turn their phones off and put them in a backpack or locker during the school day. And it may help with student learning. In a poll of 900 schools, Yonder found that when students don't have access to their phones, 65% of schools saw an improvement in academic performance. 74% showed better student behavior, and 83% saw an uptick in student engagement. Superintendent Branham says it's early, but she's already seeing some positive changes.
I'm hearing stories from students where even at lunch where they could use their cell phones, that they're still keeping them put away and that they're just having conversations, that they are listening to one another.
But some parents are unhappy with the program, citing safety as their biggest concern.
It's beneficial in making the kids, I guess, pay attention more in class. But the thing I don't like about it, like if something horrible happens in school, they won't be able to get to the phone quickly or call us.
I would prefer them have some access to some type of phone immediately if they needed to in their possession.
While phones can help emergency responders, some experts say phones in class can also alert an intruder to the location of a student or potentially jam up cell phone towers or broadcast sensitive information on social media.
Are you concerned at all that teachers might not be able to get to the students in case of an emergency to allow them to use their phones?
We are not concerned. The first and foremost thing we would want a teacher to do in the time of the crisis is execute our safety plan.
Such an interesting topic today, and I was watching this morning as across the newsroom I was listening to my coworker Megan Solensky communicating with her brother. Her brother is a high school student in Connecticut, and he was experiencing a lockdown. They were afraid that there was an active shooting in his school. Megan, tell us what happened today.
So we just got back from my live shots. We were out for Erie News Now Sunrise this morning. We got back at around 7:30. And I was working with coworkers, just hanging out, and all of a sudden my phone vibrates right as we go into the morning meeting. I'm getting a call, and I'm like, why am I getting a call from Connecticut? Nobody calls me from Connecticut anymore. And sure enough, it was my university, which was across the street, alerting us that they're on lockdown.
Wow.
And I didn't answer. I was in the meeting, and sure enough, 5 minutes later, I get a text, and my heart drops. I just see there's someone in the building with a gun. There's a student from my brother.
So he reached out to
you. So my brother sent me a text that said there's a student in the building with guns.
Fortunately, this situation did not end in a shooting, but a student had brought guns to school. It was found on social media, and the school was put on lockdown, right?
Yes, so the entire district was put on lockdown, and they had police there right on scene. It was phenomenal how quickly they were responding. This was one of 4 threats in the past 2 days in Connecticut. So just watching that package that we just saw in that story, it's just, I have mixed feelings. I couldn't imagine not getting that text from my brother.
You know, as a former educator, I get it. Put the phones away. I get it. As a parent, it's like I'm used to having that communication. Your brother reached out to you immediately. I'm sure he reached out to your parents. You had that sense of calm that you were communicating with him. Yeah, I don't know. It is a debatable policy.
You know, and I think you even heard parents in that story there say, you know, if there's something that happens at school, I want to have that direct access with my son or daughter to know what's going on. But just so interesting how this was all happening at once. This story was playing and you were living this real life.
Yeah.
And the thing that made it even harder was you almost have too much communication on the other hand, and that's what they were talking about in the package where they said that they don't want people to worry and they don't want to jam the towers and they don't know what's going on. Well, that also happened as well where we were getting so much I didn't know what was going on. So it was great. I was so glad that I was able to communicate with my brother, but at the same time, it's almost scary because I do know what's going on.
Yeah. Although I think it would have been worse working in the news business if we would have gotten an alert that, you know, that a school was on lockdown and you realize that's my brother's school and then to be in the dark.
Right.
So yeah, so much to talk about with that. Megan, thanks for joining us today, sharing your personal story, and glad to hear that, you know, that it all worked out to be okay.
Yes, thank you guys for joining me. Like I said, it was great to hear that there was no shots fired, everybody was okay. And I did get to talk to my brother, so watching that story, again, I personally connected to it just a few hours earlier today, so I'm glad I got the chance to talk with you guys.
All right.
Great. Thanks for being here, Megan.